going to run through the ceramic evolution, and I'm going to help you understand how we as dentists evolved and how dentistry has changed over the last few years. Okay, so here we go. This is how everything started. Whatever you see that is blue, so I'm highlighting this portion which is blue. Blue is pure glass. So please think of blue in this particular picture as glass, and whatever you see that is yellow, whatever is yellow is crystal. So what do you have? You have crystals in a glassy matrix. Now, when we started using glass for the first time in the mouth, they said, you know what, glass is amazing because it's going to give you amazing aesthetics, but the problem with glass is it's very weak, so it is going to break. That is the first time ever man said, let's add some crystals, some particles, some fillers to the matrix so that we can increase the strength of the glass. And that is where, friends, for the first time ever in dentistry, we started using feldspathic ceramic. So where was feldspathic ceramic used? You had a metal coping and you have ceramic layering on top, which gives it your porcelain fused to metal PFM crown. What was a good thing here? Better aesthetics, but the ceramic was still weak. So what was happening is there was a lot of chipping, a lot of fracturing of the ceramic. So researchers said, let's continue to work and find us better, stronger materials. That is where came up a completely different generation that we've read in books, but we don't understand. We don't even need to know. This is called InCeram and Dicor. All this is part of research that was happening. Don't worry about it. Not important. Then came a very important generation, which is called glass ceramic. And this is where Empress and lithium disilicate came into the picture. And what did they say? Researchers said, let's make these crystals. So the yellow color crystals that you see, they said, let's make these crystals more uniform in shape. So if you look at this structure, the crystals are all different sizes, different shapes, haphazardly arranged. But when you look at the portion that I'm highlighting in green right now, this was more organized crystal. That is why it gave decent aesthetics and decent strength, but it wasn't enough. So they said, what if we increase the proportion of the fillers and bring them closer? And that is where Emax or lithium disilicate stepped in, and it did wonders for the world. Good aesthetics, decent strength. But mankind said, I'm still not happy with strength. I want even more stronger. And then there came a generation which was called InCeram. Not important to know because it was a pass-by generation. It did not work. But what did work is the last phase that you see on the extreme right of your screen, which is called solid sintered monophase ceramics. Sounds like, oh my god, I wonder what that is. But this, my friends, is nothing but the world of alumina and zirconia, where everything was crystalline and there was absolutely no matrix. Now what's important in all of this is, if I were to divide this, everything that is towards the left of the screen has a glass matrix in it. What does it mean? It means each and every of these materials can be etched, and because it can be etched, it can be bonded. So in your notes, please go ahead and fill those two boxes with glassy matrix and etchable, and look at the bottom where you can understand which all materials come under this cluster. All of these can be etched and therefore they can be bonded. All right. Now we move on to the other side of the spectrum. And here there is no glassy matrix. It is pure crystal. And that is why it cannot be etched. And because it cannot be etched, it cannot be bonded. So if I were to ever ask you a question saying, in dentistry, if you were to tell me two primary cluster of materials as per classification, your answer should be etchable, bondable ceramics, non-etchable, non-bondable ceramics. That's the primary differentiation between any and every material that is available, which is ceramic in dentistry. All right, awesome. So with this basic foundation, what I want to tell you is a little bit of my life journey, where I started. So when I completed my MDS, this was in the year of 2012. All right, that's when I finished my master's. I did this from a remote location, which was Pune. So after I completed this, I came back to Mumbai, and I did not have a lot of patience here because I was away for a good 3 years. I had to rebuild everything from scratch. And that was the time when I decided, you know what, until I have more patience in my own practice, why don't I go consulting? So that's like my consulting bag that you see there. वो जबला उठाते थे, and I used to go on a bike and I started doing consulting for multiple clinics. I typically would go consulting for dentures because that's what they will call me for. But there was one thing that I did notice that was very common, very frequent in a lot of these practices where I was consulting. And I'll tell you what was happening. What I saw, what I noticed, what I observed was a lot of dentists would go ahead and prepare a tooth. So they've done the crown prep, so-called crown cutting, which I never want you to call it. It's always crown preparation. So once they prepare a tooth, they make an impression. All right, and now they will pull up some kind of a study model like this where there are different kinds of crowns, and they are educating the patient saying we have a metal option, we have a PFM option, we have a zirconia, we have an Emax. आप बताइए आपको कौन सा चाहिए, which crown would you want? And I'm thinking to myself, what is this dentist doing? This person is, let's say, a senior clinician, has been in practice for 20, 30 years. The practice is flooded with patients, and I'm looking at this and saying there's something grossly wrong about this. In the chat box, tell me, according to you, what is an issue? What is the problem in this?